A very warm welcome to IDFC First Bank presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 13, powered by Tata Tele Business Services. I'm Ritvika Gupta, and tonight we are bringing you highlights from our recently concluded Pune Springboard. Pune is rapidly establishing itself as India's leading employment hub, driven by strengths in skilling, innovation and multi-sector growth. Tonight, we will focus on the city's investment potential and its role in shaping India's urban, economic and technological landscape. On the show tonight, Pooja Jain brings you a panel discussion with Mr. Ganesh Natarajan, Chairman 5F World and Honeywell Automation, Dr. Ramakrishnan Raman, Vice Chancellor Symbiosis International, and Payal Rajpal, Director Robotex India, Head of South Asia Robotex International, and founder Hack the Crisis India.
Let's start with the facts and figures. My understanding is that Pune's current economy is shy of a $70 billion economy, and the growth rate is roughly 5.5% per year. But, Ganesh, if I could point my first question to you, the experts seem to indicate that its economic potential or growth rate is far, or could be pegged far closer to 10%. That's where it should be. So is that delta, 5.5 versus 10%, reality versus projections, is that justified? And if so, where do the untapped economic opportunities lie in this city?
If you look at the untapped opportunities, they exist within the current sectors also. Because if you look at manufacturing, for instance, there's a whole bunch of opportunities that we've just started to tap. Right from, I also mentor what is called ACES, which is Autonomous Connected Electric Vehicles, COE, Center of Excellence of the Government of India. And the kind of opportunities we're seeing, young startups, young companies coming up in the EV space is absolutely amazing. I'm very excited about Pune. I mean, if you have time, I can give you examples of why I think Pune is the best ecosystem for innovation and talent.
And I'm going to point my next question to you, Dr. Raman. When we look at the 360 odd GCCs that have found a home in Pune, what's so remarkable is that there's a fairly even split between BFSI, manufacturing, and tech. And that is somewhat unusual, right? Does that make this city uniquely, perhaps, resilient to sector-specific downturns?
Today, if you look at, it's not just an automobile hub. Over a period of time, it became an IT hub. Then we have a lot of startups. When you had startups coming in, they had different types of startups, right? From fintech, edutech, biotech. I mean, you've got different types of startups that are coming. Pune is a city which has got more than about 12 incubation centers which are helping these startups. Similarly, if you look at the educational institutions, the growth, I mean, right from 1949, where it was called Pune University, but it's now called Savitribai Pune University, to the number of universities that have come in today. So this ecosystem currently is making it happen for any kind of startup to flourish in this city.
Payal, coming to you now, the data seems to indicate that between the years 2020 to 2024, which incidentally, of course, coincided with the COVID crisis, in the city of Pune alone, nearly, I believe it was 10 lakh SMEs were registered that provided jobs to upwards of 55 lakh individuals. So give me your read or your take on how the small business community's voice will be represented in the Pune success story.
During COVID, Vicky Flo and the Estonian government, we launched one of the largest digital hackathon. It was called Hack the Crisis World. And then India did Hack the Crisis India. What happened here is India went on to present over 1,200 plus technological innovations in different sectors, which were then called as tracks. And India was invited to lead 7 tracks. What it meant is that India was doing the filtration for education track, biotech, fintech, and the top 5 podium positions, which were worth 100,000 euros cash prize, went to the Indian MSMEs and Indian-led startups. I think when we talk about Pune, when we talk about India, resilience is at the forefront. We always have solutions, even in the worst of times, which was back in the days COVID.
I think that deserves a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Ganesh, coming back to you. when we look at Pune, it's somehow this perfect storm of, let's say infrastructure development, a demographic dividend, right? And a deeply diversified economy. But if you look beyond the surface, there are concerns around its development in the sense that 25% of the population lives in slums, all right? Compared to most global cities that are of Pune's caliber on some dimensions, that figure is far less than 10%. So how do you respond to that, given that in this city, the urban poor are actually surprisingly literate? So why this conundrum?
No, I think, see, it's a question of a definition of a slum. I mean, if you go to Rio de Janeiro, for instance, I mean, the favelas have the same kind of percentages we talk about in Pune, but they are not as literate and not as high agency as Pune. I mean, we ourselves run a very large initiative, social initiative called Lighthouse Communities. We have 32 lighthouses across Pune, and we are working with 580 of the 640 slum communities. But I promise you that the willingness to learn, the ability to dream is as high in the slum communities of Kharadi or wherever else as it is in the city. And in fact, one good thing I have going for Pune is, I think we are finding that everybody has ambition, and if I may say so, everybody has a willingness to work hard.
I think one of the criticisms also, Dr. Raman, is perhaps that a lot of the urban development is largely limited to, I think Pimpri Chinchwad came up in the conversation earlier, or to Pune, and not to the outskirts. That those regions or those parts of the region are largely neglected. How do you respond to that?
Well, if you look at the development plan, you might be right telling that it is restricted to specific pockets. But let me take an example of Symbiosis. When we set up our university, it was not inside the city limit. Far away, called a place called Lovely, where many people did not know where that existed. To reach that place was a challenge. Today, if you look at, the city has expanded, that to reach that place is easy than reaching Shivaji Nagar from possibly outskirts of the city. So it is about expansion where the government and the private players are playing. So just being at the center of the city expansion is no more true, but the problem that people face is commuting from one place to other. I think infrastructure is getting developed. The metro plan is already there. Phase-wise, it's getting opened as well. Once that is becoming functional, possibly if you're going to have a cap on number of cars that each one of us have, it'll be better.
All right. Well, coming to you now, Payal. When we talk about Pune garnering global attention, or when we talk about perhaps even closer to home, business expansion and what makes Pune so ideal, one factor there is commercial rents are perhaps 15% lower than the national average, which makes it an ideal destination for business expansion. But when it comes to outright ownership, one school of thought is market correction is long overdue. The other school of thought is perhaps the best days are yet to come. The prices and the valuations are fully justified. How do you look at it through the lens of an entrepreneur?
I'm just going to lead by examples here. When I relocated to Pune, which was in 2010, a certain piece of land bought now, which is, which used to be back in the days outskirts, ahead of Kharadi. Then there was Undri Pisoli, all these places. We were looking at lands that was bought at perhaps in thousands, and now that has gone up to crores. But when we are looking at infrastructure expansion, we need to also look at mobility. So if PMRDA is working closely with, Pune Smart City Startup. We're looking at MMRDA now taking over the ring road near Pashan, where, the Pashan, one of my employees lives in Pashan, and she says, oh, it was so beautiful back in the days, but now all I can see is just vehicles. So I think infrastructure will come to a normalcy when we have some kind of fluid in mobility. And I think that ring road, keeping the cars or we being the two-wheeler capital of the country, keeping that in mind, and the way PMRD is developing the metro system. I think all that put together is what gives infrastructure its own sibling, rather than that being solo.
Thank you for adding that candor to the conversation. Very much appreciated. And, Ganesh, when we talk about Pune garnering national attention, I think that's obvious. It's completely, found its presence outside the shadows of Mumbai. But not only that, it's garnering global attention. And one stat that has always caught my surprise is the fact that the largest number of German companies outside of Germany is in the city of Pune. Why Pune? I'm not quite able to wrap my head around that statistic.
Once you're in Pune, you're not good for any other city. Because it's such a wonderful...
What around, please?
Because it's such a wonderful city in terms of the quality of life, the quality of everything. Talent in the city tends to be more sticky because many people in Pune love the city, want to live in the city, want to add value to the city, which is very unusual. And I think that's the strength of Pune. I mean, I remember, just to give you an example, when I first came to Pune, which was to take over this little startup called Zensar, 40 crore company, we actually went around the city and we said, now, what are we doing here? I mean, so I remember going around to various universities and just asking young people, what do you think is a new software company? And somebody actually gave us a term which kind of stuck. You become a programmerless programming company. We actually built that company. And that innovation was possible because so many universities partnered with us. We created technology and templates. And that kind of a collaborative ecosystem, things happen in Pune, albeit a little slowly. But we have great patience, and that's what makes us successful. So I have no reason to believe that Pune will not continue to succeed, attract Swedish companies, German companies, American companies.
It's time for a quick break here. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned. Welcome back to IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 13, powered by Tata Tele Business Services. And you're watching highlights from our recently concluded Pune Springboard. Listen in to the panel discussion.
Dr. Raman, we just heard Ganesh say that the talent here is more sticky. So I need to pose a question to you because my understanding is that over 200,000 students study in the city of Pune in its higher education institutes. So while Pune is clearly the education mecca of the country, what luck does it have in retaining those students in terms of their career trajectories and the workforce that follows?
While there are several other universities and colleges which have opened up, which continue to open up in many other cities outside this state and several other cities as well, but in spite of it, this is one city which attracts not only students across India from all the states, but also if you take the top 10 destinations for people who are coming into India, this city becomes one of those, the choice for them when they opt to pursue education. The reason is the institutions which are found here have got a legacy, some of them 50, 40, 25 years plus, where the other institutions do not have that legacy. And that plays a big role. Reason is the kind of alumni who are there associated with these universities and institutions speak for themselves. Many of these institutions are also aspiring to be a part of the global set of good institutions. So this is one city where you have, when you talk about, although people talk about plus and minus of the global ranking, be it the QS or the THE ranking, this is one city which has got institutions in that great world ranked institutions. So combining all these factors, it is still the destination which students choose when they plan to pursue, especially the graduate or the postgraduate programs in engineering, management, and law.
All right. And Payal, coming to you now. When we look at Pune, Pune is home to the Kirloskar Group, right? And Bajaj Automotive, which is amongst the world's largest manufacturers of two-wheelers and three-wheelers. And of course, the Serum Institute of India. So clearly there's a manufacturing blueprint that's working well here, right? Which and basically essentially puts the spotlight on the city in terms of that broader Make in India movement. What is that blueprint and what is the city doing differently?
You know, when you said blueprint, I was speaking at a, smart startup summit yesterday, and someone said that, oh, you're from Pune, and Pune is like the blueprint city for Viksit Bharat 2047. And I was like, that's amazing. Yes, we are a powerhouse, but to hear it from someone who's a non-Puneite was quite a compliment. And I think what is next in line, which will complement or sort of, creates a circular economy or builds the ecosystem around it, is bridging the gap between education to employment, bringing in innovation labs. Pune is already being called as the capital of global R&D and innovation labs. So I think what comes after manufacturing, according to me, and we already have, the given IT companies here. But when we talk about R&D, and the reason why I would want to reiterate that today is it not only complements with the IT companies that we have here or the manufacturing companies, but also creates and closes the loop with education. We start from education and then we go to these private sectors, and it actually ends up at the industry to academia hub, which is quite similar. It sort of resonates to what has been happening. I mean, I'm a graduate of LSE, and I still remember back in the days, we had industry experts, not just to come and give us talks, but we had to do a month and a half, a year within the industries to sort of look at what is experiential learning. And I think we've started that in our schools at a very, very early stage via ATLs or the Robotics AI Innovation Centers, which are there. And going back to the experiential learning that I was, emphasizing about, where it sort of closed the loop, is the key for success in Pune, starting from education hub back in the days in the 40s to now becoming the IT manufacturing hub as well.
Coming to you now, Ganesh. When we talk about Pune, I believe it's the country's third largest hub when it comes to IT exports. But the fact of the matter remains that when it comes to Indian talent, their tech prowess is undisputed. It's never been challenged. But what is often brought into conversation is the fact that Indian graduates, when it comes to management or when it comes to soft skills, there's room for improvement, all right? And that is what's going to enable them to better compete on the global stage. How do you respond to that?
See, I'm not too sure about both these points. I mean, first of all, I think we would be fooling ourselves if we felt that Indian tech graduates are the best in the world. I mean, I can promise you, programmers in Russia are smarter. The soft skills part, yes. I mean, I still remember when I came here, and by the way, to your point, when I moved to Pune in 2001, there were just 2,000 programmers in the entire city of Pune, equally shared between three companies, Zensar, Persistent, and KPIT. And today, if you look at all the three companies doing extremely well, all close to $1 billion in revenue each. So I think it's an amazing story of companies growing as well as the industry growing in Pune. You're absolutely right. But I wouldn't think there is any difference between the typical Indian young programmer or the young techie and, of course, something in Pune. I think the people in Bangalore and the people in Hyderabad are equally smart. But I think what has gone for the city or what has gone well for the city is the support we've received. I mean, so what I'm saying is, and I think Raman alluded to that people come from all over the place. They find a safe space here in Pune. And that kind of enables them to blossom as individuals, join companies, hopefully here, and really make a difference in the world eventually.
All right. Well, I'm going to come at my panelists with a closing question to pose to all three of you, and we'll start with you, Payal. So when it comes to essentially the small business community and these springboards that we do nationwide, all right, we try and identify panelists who care about small businesses, who have contributed towards the small business community that come from different sectors, like the three of you. And the theme for tonight's panel, the overarching theme, has been skill, innovation, and growth. So for members of our audience that are perhaps struggling across one of those dimensions or multiple such dimensions within the four walls of their own small business, how might you guide them? How might you be a lever of support?
I'll actually narrate a very simple story. So Robotex in the last decade has been working with CSR partnerships. So we're looking at BMC Software, Infosys, Persistent, Globin, ZS, HCL, and we work in the education sector. What has happened in the last 10 years when we talk about skilling, when we talk about inclusivity, and how small businesses can thrive, there is just one story I would like to give you. When this initiative began 10 years ago, and I said, I'm done with my corporate slavery, and now I want to give back to the society. It started with a small thought, 1,000 children from Goregaon via Fiki Flow, and then now it's grown into, more than 30 plus corporates that work with CSR at Robotex. A 6th grade to 12th grade student, a 6th grader began with us almost 10 years ago. And we got, so obviously she was trained in, because we work with schools. So we have close to 15 states, 500 plus schools, Zilla Parishad, municipal corporations that we work with. What the children learn is, as per World Economic Forum, these are your top technology skills, these are your top 10 life skills, and those 5 skills we teach them, which is AI, robotics, IoT, design thinking, electronics, etc. Few students then came into our ecosystem back in the days, represented India at the Robotex National Championship, which was India's first inclusive championship. Why so? Because all the other technology championships are crafted only for sectors like private schools or private colleges. But this was the inclusive championship. 48% podium positions in 2024 and 25 were won by government school and government college students. First time in the history of our country, these students, which come from extremely low strata community and are children of single prostitutes, vegetable vendors, auto rickshaw drivers, etc., won the podium positions, got sponsored by the CSR, represented India in Estonia at the global platform among 79 countries, came back with 4 podium positions in 2024 with the most innovative AI, IoT, robotics products that you can think of, was felicitated by Honorable Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan in July 2025. They received full tuition boarding scholarships, 338 students, out of which 92% students are from Pune Zilla Parishad and Municipal Corporation. All I have to say here, there's nothing small and big. It's not about getting to the goal. It's all about the journey.
Phenomenal, phenomenal. And Dr. Raman, I'm going to come to you with the same question, which is essentially for members of our audience that are seeking mentorship. How can you help them?
We have several students who join us, 100,000 students who apply, and possibly about 150, 200 join us. The best of the talent joins us. If you got a problem statement, if you got a problem telling, look, this is my problem, I run an MSME, can you help? Our doors are open. They'll take them as live projects, work on it. So as the Vice Chancellor of this university, I am telling it's an open invitation for those who want some problems to be solved at an MSME level, possibly can't go to an McKinsey and take the consulting. My doors are open. You can definitely write to me with a problem statement. Look, this is my problem. Can someone help? I'll ensure that the help is extended for the MSMEs in Pune and around.
Phenomenal. And Ganesh, I think it's fair to say you're the most experienced on the panel. You've seen it all, sir. Similarly, for members of this audience that are perhaps struggling as they have one tiptoe in the entrepreneurship side of things, but yet they're not quite ready to sort of cut ties with the corporate slavery, as we just heard, Payal allude to, how might you guide them? How might you be that voice of reason?
One of my board members gave me this fantastic idea, which is very good, saying, think of yourself as a $100 million company, and how would you structure the company then? I said, that's great. Are you going to fund me for it? He says, no, we don't have any money. But still think like that. And we did that. So I'm just saying, the power lies in getting the vision in place for you. And I'm sure I work with a lot of MSMEs. Even things like Industry 4.0, for instance. I mean, a lot of people look at Industry 4.0, and I'm sure many of you look at it in this room. But at the end of the day, you feel it's too much of procedure, too much of process. Are we really ready for it? We're a small company. But I would say go for it. I mean, I think that is the way you think big, become a bigger company and go forward.
Wonderful. I think a huge round of applause for all of our panelists, please.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 13, powered by Tata Tele Business Services. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.